Good evening. My name's Evan and welcome to Rocklin Graves. The Evil Dead is one of horror's most iconic and consistently satisfying franchises. It's built on a foundation of love for filmmaking and delivering a fun experience to the viewer, but it's been 10 years since the last feature film. Going into Evil Dead Rise, I was very excited. The marketing material has been fantastic, and hearing Bruce Campbell vouch for the movie just sealed the deal.
Now, I've seen the movie in all of its glory, and in case you're wondering, yes, it is amazing, and yes, it is the scariest one yet.
Groovy.
I found the premise of an Evil Dead movie in a high-rise apartment to be full of potential, but I was a little worried that the Evil Dead identity might be lost without Bruce Campbell or a cabin setting. I know a lot of people would have loved to see Sam Raimi back in the director's chair, but that is not the case. This entry was written and directed by Lee Cronin. Now, Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, and Robert Tapert all returned as producers, so their touch is still on this movie. This franchise has so much variety and so many different elements, and each one of them has something to offer that makes it stand out from the rest. I've said it a few times, I don't think there's a bad Evil Dead movie, and now, having seen Evil Dead Rise, I am absolutely elated to say that remains the case.
Mom? Mommy's with the maggots now.
I won't be spoiling anything in this review, but I walked out of the theater bouncing on my feet. Cronin translated the formula of the Evil Dead franchise into a new setting so well and delivered an entry that is equal parts a love letter to the franchise and something completely new, and he absolutely nailed it on both fronts. Rise took everything that I love about the Evil Dead movies and smushed them into one tight, jam-packed runtime. It's an hour and 36 minutes long, but I swear to God it felt like 45. As is tradition, once things kick off, there is little breathing room from one crazy moment to the next, and yeah, rest assured, there is plenty of crazy shit packed into this thing. I just love how Evil Dead movies don't waste your time. They establish the necessities and then just slam the pedal full throttle until the credits roll. It did take me a little while to settle into the new setting and the completely new cast of characters, but it didn't take too long for everything to fall into place. I will say, pacing-wise, the opening scene is very disjointed from the rest of the movie, and unfortunately I don't think it was smoothed out very well. I see what they were going for with it. Like, conceptually, I understand what the thought process behind it was, and it was just as well executed as the rest of the movie, but this movie's story wouldn't have changed at all without that first scene and a very brief wraparound. Okay, to balance out the gushing nature of this review, I will say the characters are not super fleshed out, but to be fair, they're a little busy literally getting fleshed out, so I'm not really going to ask them to sit down and have a heartfelt conversation. As far as negatives go, that's really all I can think of. The dialogue feels way more natural than the last movie, and I felt like the characters and their relations got established in a much smoother way. Lee Cronin knows what you're here for, and he respects your time. So once those important character traits get established, this film just focuses on delivering on what an Evil Dead movie needs to do. I'll need to let it settle more before I can really say where it sits for me in terms of, my ranking of the franchise, but one thing that I really don't need to think twice about is saying that this is definitely the scariest movie in the franchise so far. Bruce Campbell was not lying. There's such an oppressive sense of isolation and claustrophobia built up in this movie, and Cronin designed some truly skin-crawling sequences as this movie revs up. The first act had me properly freaked out a few times, and as it transitioned into the second act, that just turned into me having an absolute blast. The tone of this movie is perfectly balanced between being scary, funny, and exhilarating while never getting muddied or falling flat on any of those metrics. One of my biggest criticisms of the 2013 movie was the way the Deadites were handled, and I'm really glad to say that this movie does not suffer that same problem. Those Deadites, they worked for that movie, but they talked like edgy teenagers in a COD lobby and weren't as fun as some of what came before.
Why don't you come down here so I can suck your cock, pretty boy? Mia. Mia's not here, you fucking idiot!
These Deadites are scary as hell when they need to be, but can still make me laugh without ruining the immersion of the movie. The way these fuckers move just feels so wrong in all the best ways. There's this twitchy, unnatural movement that a lot of horror movies try, but very few make it work this well. That, alongside with Alyssa Sutherland's fantastic performance might have made her my new favorite Deadite. The cast all around did a really great job, and having kids be so central to the movie added a lot of tension. Lily Sutherland is our main Deadite slayer, and man does she ever give a great performance. These movies are all about taking a normal person and forcing them to buckle up and slay evil, and she fucking did it. This is a bloody movie, but it doesn't quite push things into the uncomfortable territory that some scenes in Evil Dead 2013 have. That one's violence was amazing, and it was cringeworthy, where here it's just mostly really fun. If something gets teased, you bet your ass it's gonna come into play. Evil Dead Rise does not blue ball. And by the way, don't worry, the younger actors are also great. I was really glad to see the siblings interact before things got crazy, and I wound up really caring about the family solely based on their chemistry. There's a very small amount of backstory explored in this movie, but because of the on-screen chemistry between these actors, I really cared about them.
What's up, sis?
By the end, I was entirely convinced that, well, of course, Bruce Campbell is fucking amazing. There is a future for the Evil Dead franchise without Ash Williams. And if Army of Darkness wasn't enough proof, this movie is a testament to the fact that Evil Dead movies can leave the forest and the cabin setting and work just fine. Aside from how much I loved this movie, it made me really excited to see where the franchise would go from here. This movie opened up so many possible directions for future installments to take, and recent comments from Sam Raimi show that there is certainly more to explore here. There are so many ways that this movie could have gone wrong, and for me at least, it avoided falling into any of the holes that it so easily could have. Rise is a fantastic package deal of an Evil Dead movie, and it's one that I will 100% do an in-depth review on when the Blu-ray comes out. The first act is dark and creepy, the second is brutal, intense, and entertaining, and the third act, holy shit, man. It's beautifully shot, ridiculously entertaining, super immersive, and it blends everything I love about these movies into one bloody delicious smoothie. I highly, highly recommend you check out Evil Dead Rise.
Open up now.
You don't look so good, Mom.
Nothing a big old kiss from you won't fix.
If you enjoyed when I sat down with Splattercast to talk about the Scream movies, I'll be joining them again to talk Evil Dead Rise, so that should be out pretty soon. Keep an eye out for that. I also do still have 2 more Evil Dead videos coming very soon. I still have to get my Evil Dead 2013 video out. I'd hope to have that out before Rise's release this week, but I had to push it unfortunately, and I'll also be ranking the entire franchise, so that should be out sometime next week. The Evil Dead 2013 video should be out in just a few days. I apologize for the delay there, but there's more to come. Until then, thank you for stopping by Rocklin Graves. I hope you've enjoyed your stay.